On March 7th, two completely different Social Security events happened, and one of them could literally wipe out your entire monthly check. Most people are mixing them up. Most people don't even know what really changed. And some Americans are going to find out the hard way when their deposit doesn't look the way they expected. One change allows the government to withhold 100% of your Social Security if you are overpaid. The other is the biggest internal overhaul at the Social Security Administration in over a generation, affecting more than 72 million Americans. If you rely on Social Security or someone you love does, you cannot afford to miss what I'm about to explain. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to break down exactly what changed, who is at risk, what you need to do right now, and how to protect your money before March 7th, 2026 hits. Let's get into it. If you're over 50, retired, planning to retire, or helping your parents navigate Social Security, this channel was built for you. Not for Wall Street insiders, not for politicians, not for people who already have millions. This is for everyday Americans who work their whole lives, paid into the system, and deserve straight answers without the confusing government language. I research these updates so you don't get blindsided. I break down the rules so you don't lose money. And I tell you what to do before changes hit, not after. Over the next few weeks, I'll be uploading detailed breakdowns on the March 7th, 2026 SSA overhaul, how to protect yourself from overpayment clawbacks, the latest updates on the Social Security Fairness Act, identity verification changes that could delay your benefits, and step-by-step guides to maximize your retirement check. So, if this affects you, and it probably does, go ahead and subscribe now because this isn't just another news channel. This is your early warning system. Let's start at the very beginning because there are actually two separate March 7 events people are talking about, and it's important not to mix them up. The first one is March 7, 2025, when the Social Security Administration made a major announcement about overpayments. The second one is March 7, 2026, which is when the SSA is launching the biggest operational overhaul it has done in over a generation. We're going to cover both of these in detail, and by the time we're done today, you will have the full picture of everything that is happening and everything you need to do to protect yourself and your family. Let's go ahead and start with what happened on March 7, 2025, because this one has a direct impact on your wallet. On that date, the Social Security Administration officially announced that they were going back to a policy of withholding 100% of your monthly Social Security check if it turns out you were overpaid. Now, let me explain what that means in plain English because this is really important. Every now and then, the Social Security Administration makes a mistake. Maybe they paid you more than they should have. Maybe your income changed, or your living situation changed, or there was a data error or some paperwork didn't get processed correctly. Whatever the reason, when the SSA pays you more than you are actually entitled to, that is called an overpayment. And when that happens, the SSA has the right by law to get that money back from you. For a long time, the SSA's policy was to automatically take back 100% of your monthly check until the full overpayment amount was recovered. If you owed them $2,000, they could simply stop your payments entirely month after month until they'd gotten all that money back. Now, you can imagine how devastating that would be for someone who relies on Social Security as their primary or only source of income. You wake up one day, check your bank account, and your check is just not there. That's a nightmare scenario for millions of Americans, especially elderly folks and people with disabilities who have no other income to fall back on. Well, back in 2023, the Biden administration changed that rule. They lowered the default withholding rate from 100% all the way down to just 10% of your monthly benefit. So, if you owed the SSA money because of an overpayment, they could only take back 10% of your check at a time. That gave people breathing room. It meant most folks wouldn't lose their entire check at once. It was a much more humane policy that allowed people to keep most of their money while still repaying the debt over a longer period of time. But on March 7, 2025, Acting SSA Commissioner Lee Dudek announced that they were going back to the old way. Starting March 27, 2025, the SSA reinstated the 100% default withholding rate for Social Security beneficiaries. This is a really big deal. This means that if you receive an overpayment notice after March 27, 2025, the SSA can and likely will withhold your entire monthly Social Security check until that overpayment is fully recovered. Now, there is one important thing to note here. If you already had an overpayment that was established before March 27th, your withholding rate will not change under this new rule. So, if you were already on a payment plan at 10%, you're safe. But for anyone who gets a new overpayment notice after March 27, 2025, the full 100% withholding rule now applies. Now, before you start panicking, there is something very important you need to know. You do have rights in this situation. If you get an overpayment notice and you cannot afford to have your entire check withheld, you can call Social Security at 1-800-7721-213 or visit your local office and request a lower recovery rate. You can also appeal the decision if you believe the overpayment was not your fault. Or you can ask Social Security to waive the collection entirely if you can prove that the overpayment wasn't your fault and that repaying it would cause you serious financial hardship. The important thing here is that you act quickly and you don't ignore those notices. If you receive a letter from Social Security about an overpayment, please don't throw it away or ignore it. Read it carefully, respond to it, call them, and know your rights. The Social Security Administration says they do not pursue recovery while an appeal or a waiver request is pending, so taking action protects you while the situation is being reviewed. This policy was announced on March 7th, 2025, and that's why you see so many videos and articles referencing that specific date. But as I mentioned, March 7th, 2026 is actually bringing something even bigger. And that brings us to the main event, which is a massive top-to-bottom overhaul of how the Social Security Administration delivers its services to you. This is genuinely the largest operational change at the SSA in more than a generation, and it affects all 72.5 million Americans who receive Social Security benefits in some way. Here's the background on why this is happening. For decades, the Social Security Administration has operated through more than 1,200 local field offices spread across the country. Each one of those local offices basically operated like its own little Social Security world. They had their own appointment calendars, their own case backlogs, their own staff managing their own workloads. If you lived in a city with a busy, understaffed Social Security office, you might wait weeks or even months for an appointment. But if you lived in a smaller town where the local office wasn't as slammed, you might get seen much faster. There was no fairness or consistency to it. Two people with the exact same type of claim might have completely different experiences just because of their zip code. That's not right. And the SSA knows it. On top of that, the SSA has been dealing with serious staffing shortages in recent years. Thousands of workers have left or been let go. The demand for services has exploded as tens of millions of baby boomers have reached retirement age over the past decade. The system was creaking under the pressure. Something had to change, and that change is happening on March 7th, 2026. Starting on that date, the SSA is rolling out two brand new systems that will fundamentally change how your appointments are scheduled and how your claims are processed. The first system is called the National Appointment Scheduling Calendar. And I know that sounds like a mouthful, so let's just call it the NAS. The second system is called the National Workload Management System, which we can call the NWLM. Together, these two systems are moving the SSA away from that old local office by local office model and into a fully nationalized, centralized approach. Think of it like this. Right now, it's like having 1,230 separate pizza restaurants, each one taking its own orders, managing its own kitchen, and handling its own delivery. Some are slammed and can't keep up. Others have people sitting around with nothing to do. The new system is like creating one giant central dispatch center that coordinates all the orders across all the restaurants at the same time, routing each order to whichever location has the capacity to handle it fastest. With the National Appointment Scheduling Calendar, when you call to make an appointment with Social Security, your call won't just go into your local office's queue anymore. Instead, it gets pulled from a national pool. That means an agent anywhere in the country could potentially handle your appointment by phone. The idea is to cut down on those long waits that people in high-demand areas have been suffering through. Instead of waiting 3 weeks for an appointment at your local overloaded office, you might be able to get seen within days because a representative in a less busy part of the country picks up your case. And the good news is that the SSA is also going to allow people to self-GH through this new system, which is a big deal for folks who prefer doing things on their own without having to sit on hold for an hour. The National Workload Management System does something similar, but for claims that are already in the pipeline. Right now, once you file a claim, it mostly just sits in your local office's to-do pile. If that office is backed up, your claim is backed up. Under the new system, claims that are sitting idle will be automatically identified and redistributed to SSA staff in offices across the country that have more available capacity. Your disability claim or retirement application might end up being processed by someone in a completely different state, but the goal is that it gets handled faster than it would have if it just sat in your local office's backlog for months. Now, there are some legitimate concerns about this new system that are worth talking about honestly, because I want to give you the full picture, not just the sunny version. One concern is that people who handle your case might not be familiar with your state's specific rules and procedures, especially when it comes to disability determinations. Disability claims involve state-level disability determination services offices, and the process can be complicated and very specific to the state you're in. If your case gets rerouted to someone in another state who doesn't know the local rules, that could create extra back and forth and potentially slow things down instead of speeding them up. Another concern is the transition period itself. Whenever a massive government agency switches over to a completely new system, there are growing pains. Staff have to learn new software, new procedures, new protocols, all at the same time. Historically, anytime a large agency has gone through a systems transition like this, wait times have gotten worse before they got better. The SSA is rolling this out across all 1,230 field offices simultaneously on March 7, 2026. That is an incredibly ambitious rollout, and experts and advocates are watching it closely. So, while the long-term goal is faster, more efficient service, the honest reality is that in the weeks immediately following March 7, things could be slower and more confusing than usual. People who will feel this change the most are those who are actively interacting with the SSA right now, meaning people who are filing new claims, people who are appealing a denial, people who are dealing with a benefit review, or people who need to report a life change. If you're already just receiving your monthly payment and you have no pending business with the SSA, you probably won't notice much of a difference at all. Your direct deposit will keep coming in on the same schedule as always. The March 7, 2026 changes are about how the SSA processes work on the inside, not about changing your benefit amount or your payment date. So, please don't worry that your check is going to disappear. That is not what this is about. Now let's talk about something else that has been making big news, and that is the Social Security Fairness Act. This law was signed by President Biden on January 5, 2025, and for a lot of hardworking Americans, it is truly a game-changer. For years, there were two provisions buried in Social Security law that were quietly and unfairly reducing or even eliminating the Social Security benefits of millions of people. One was called the Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP, and the other was called the Government Pension Offset, or GPO. These provisions were created back in the 1980s, and they were targeted at people who received pensions from jobs that didn't pay into Social Security, like certain federal, state, and local government jobs, and some positions in education, firefighting, law enforcement, and other public service roles. Here's how unfair this was. Let's say you worked as a teacher for 25 years in a state where teachers don't pay into Social Security. You then retired and collected your teacher's pension. But let's also say you worked other jobs earlier in your life or part-time jobs on the side where you did pay Social Security taxes. Under the old WE rules, even though you paid into Social Security fair and square, the government would reduce your Social Security benefit because you also received that non-covered pension. That's like being penalized for working hard and saving in two different ways at the same time. It wasn't fair, and millions of teachers, firefighters, police officers, postal workers, and other public servants suffered because of it for decades. The government pension offset worked in a similar but even harsher way for spouses and surviving spouses. If your husband or wife received a government pension from a non-covered job and you passed away, your surviving spouse's Social Security survivor benefit could be reduced or completely wiped out by the GO. Imagine being a widow or widower who counted on that survivor benefit to make ends meet only to find out it was being taken away because of a rule most people had never even heard of. The Social Security Fairness Act eliminated both of these provisions forever. Starting from January 2024, retroactively, affected beneficiaries began receiving the full Social Security benefits they had earned without those reductions being applied. The SSA started processing those increases and sending out retroactive lump sum payments to cover the months that were previously reduced. If you're one of the roughly 3 million Americans who is affected by WEP or GO, you should have already seen an increase in your monthly payments and a retroactive payment arriving in early 2025. If you have not yet seen those changes, or if you haven't yet filed for benefits because you assumed they'd be reduced, now is the time to act. Go to ssa.gov or call Social Security and find out what you're owed, because this is money that rightfully belongs to you. Now, let's talk about identity verification, because this is another huge change that has quietly caught a lot of people off guard. The Social Security Administration made major changes to how it verifies who you are when you need to access your benefits or make changes to your account. Here's what happened. For a very long time, you could call Social Security on the phone, answer some questions, and that was good enough to verify your identity. So, you could do things like change your direct deposit information or handle other account updates. That phone-based verification option is now gone for most transactions. Starting in 2125, the SSA moved to requiring either online verification through your personal My Social Security account or in-person verification at a local field office for many types of transactions. If you want to change your direct deposit information, if you want to update your banking details, if you need to do anything sensitive with your Social Security account, you are now going to need to either do it online through the SSA's website using login.gov or id.mme, or you need to go into a physical office and show your ID in person. This change was made to protect people from fraud and identity theft, which has unfortunately become a very serious problem when it comes to Social Security accounts. Scammers have been calling seniors pretending to be from Social Security, getting them to confirm their personal information over the phone, and then using that information to redirect benefit payments into fraudulent accounts. The new identity verification rules are designed to make that much harder to do. But the challenge is that not everyone has a computer, not everyone is comfortable with online accounts, and not everyone can easily get to a Social Security office. If you fall into that category, the SSA does still provide in-person options, but you may need to plan ahead and allow extra time. The best thing you can do right now is to set up your free My Social Security online account at ssa.gov if you haven't already done so. It gives you access to your earnings record, your benefit estimates, your payment history, and the ability to make account changes securely online. It's free, it's straightforward to set up, and it puts you in control of your own benefits information. Having that account already set up before you need to make a change is one of the best things you can do to protect yourself. Let's also quickly touch on a few other changes that took effect in 2025 that you should know about. First, there was a cost of living adjustment, also called a COLA, of 2.5% at the beginning of 2025. This is the automatic increase that Social Security gives beneficiaries every year to try to keep up with inflation. A 2.5% increase might not sound huge, but for someone receiving $2,000 a month, that's an extra $50 a month or $600 over the course of the year. Every little bit counts, especially with the cost of groceries and medicine and housing being as high as it has been. There was also an important change to the Social Security earnings test, which matters if you're collecting Social Security retirement benefits before you've reached your full retirement age and you're still working. In 2025, if you're under full retirement age and you're working while collecting Social Security, the SSA will withhold $1 of your benefits for every $2 you earn above $23,400 for the year. Now, it's important to understand that this money isn't gone forever. Once you reach your full retirement age, the SSA recalculates your benefit and gives back what was withheld in the form of higher monthly payments going forward. But in the short term, it can affect how much you receive, so it's worth planning for. Speaking of full retirement age, that number is also changing. Full retirement age is the age at which you can claim 100% of your Social Security benefit based on your lifetime earnings history. For people born between 1943 and 1954, full retirement age was 66, but for each birth year after that, full retirement age increases by 2 months. For people born in 1958, full retirement age is 66 and 8 months. For people born in 1959, it's 66 and 10 months. And for everyone born in 1960 and later, full retirement age is 67. This is already baked into the law as it currently stands. You can still claim Social Security as early as age 62, but if you do that, your monthly benefit will be permanently reduced by as much as 30% compared to what you'd get at full retirement age. On the flip side, if you wait past your full retirement age to claim, you earn what are called delayed retirement credits, which increase your benefit by 8% for every year you wait up until age 70. So, there's a real financial incentive for those who can afford to wait. Now, let's pull all of this together, because what I really want to leave you with today is a sense of exactly what you should be doing right now to make sure you are protected and prepared. If you have any pending business with the Social Security Administration, by that I mean you are in the middle of a claim, you have an appeal going, you need to update your banking information, you need to report a change in your situation, please take action now before the March 7th, 2026 transition kicks in. The safest window to handle any open SSA business is right now before the systems switch over. Once the new national scheduling and workload management systems go live, there's going to be a learning curve and processing times could slow down temporarily. You don't want to be caught in the middle of that if you can avoid it. Set up your My Social Security online account at ssa.gov right now if you haven't done it yet. Seriously, this is free. It takes about 15 minutes, and it is one of the most important things you can do for your financial security. With that account, you can see your full earnings history, check your estimated benefit amounts at different claiming ages, get benefit verification letters, update your direct deposit information, and much more. And because the SSA has moved away from phone-based identity verification, having that online account is now more important than ever. If you've been putting this off, today is the day to get it done. If you received an overpayment notice from Social Security, do not ignore it. Read it carefully, check the numbers, and if you believe there was a mistake, contact the SSA right away to appeal. You have 60 days to request an appeal, and during that time, the SSA cannot pursue recovery. If you agree that you were overpaid, but you simply cannot afford to have your entire check withheld, call 1-800-772-1213 and ask about requesting a lower recovery rate or a hardship waiver. There are options available to you. You just have to reach out and ask. If you are a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, a government worker, or the spouse or surviving spouse of one of these public servants, and you believe you may have been affected by the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset, contact Social Security right away. These provisions were eliminated by the Social Security Fairness Act, and you may be entitled to higher monthly payments and retroactive back-pay going all the way to January 2024. This is potentially thousands of dollars that you are owed, and the only way to get it is to make sure Social Security has your current information and knows you are eligible. At the end of the day, all of these changes, whether it's the new national scheduling system, the overpayment rules, the Social Security Fairness Act, the identity verification updates, or anything else, are things that you are far better equipped to handle when you know about them ahead of time. The people who get hurt are the ones who are caught off guard, who didn't know the rules changed, who ignored a notice, or who didn't take action when they had the chance. That's not going to be you because you're here, you're watching, and now you know. Social Security is one of the most important programs in American life. For tens of millions of people, it is not just a benefit. It is the foundation of their financial security in their later years. It's what allows people to retire with dignity after a lifetime of hard work. It's what supports people with disabilities who can no longer work. It's what takes care of widows, widowers, and children who lose a breadwinner. This program belongs to the American people. You paid into it with every paycheck over your working life, and you deserve to get every dollar you've earned. Staying informed about these changes is how you make sure that happens. So, please share this information with someone you know. Share it with your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, your coworkers. A lot of people have no idea these changes are coming, and knowing about them could make a real difference in someone's life. If you've been helped by any of the things we talked about today, drop a comment and let us know because we love hearing from you. And as always, stay informed, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, everyone.